Welcome to The Otherworlds, where we talk to authors of fantasy, supernatural, and paranormal stories. Let's open the portal and meet our guest.
Hello, my name is Sandra Tan, and I am joined today by Dana Elmendorf. Dana is the author of young adult and adult novels, including In the Hour of Crows and her 2025 release, Grave Birds. As those titles suggest, she considers herself a bird nerd, and she joins us today to talk about Grave Birds and her writing process and hobbies and more. Welcome to the Other Worlds, Dana.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here and happy to talk anything about birds.
So what was it that sparked your interest in birds?
I don't know. I think I just grew up I grew up in the South, and I think my dad, he's always lived out in the country, and I'm just fascinated by owls. Like that's my favorite, but then bird of praise. And so I don't know. I'm obsessed with feathers. Like I have like over 400 feathers that I collect. And so you're not supposed to collect like bird of prey feathers because of the 1918, Migratory Act. But I don't think the FBI is going to bust into my house. So I still collect them. And I will lay them out on the table where they are on the wing by species. Like I'm a real nerd like that.
Well, I understand not going out and like trying to, pull a feather off a bird. I understand that, but what would be the issue with picking up a bird?
So there's no way to prove if I killed the bird or if I found it. So to get around that, they just outlawed you to find it as well. So like even if you found it on the ground, just loose one feather, back then they were like, well, we can't prove if you shot it or killed it or not, or if it was dead on the side of the road. So they just outlawed it completely because people could lie. So and that's probably one of the big things that saved the bald eagle. Like I don't the bald eagle is making a comeback across the country, and it's been incredible, but they were killed almost to extinction, and it's taken over 100 years for them to finally like get back to where they're a normal bird in society again.
Wow, that's incredible. I know there's a lot of a lot of animals and birds are threatened or, endangered, and it's it's interesting to see what steps that they need to take in order to protect them. So
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that particular law, and so that's really interesting, and it's great that it's had a good impact.
I mean, it's taken over 100 years for them to come back, but they have a eagle nest in Big Bear by the house by the lake where I live up there, and it has like the two babies. One of them just flew from the nest, and so the other one's about to fly any day from the nest. But it's really cool, and they're like the second fledglings from this couple. So it's really cool. It's really neat.
So is that one of your daily routine things? You like to check in on the eagles and see how they're
I
doing?
check in on the cam. There's a camera. It's a Big Bear camera. So I check in on the cam, not every day, but at least once or twice a week. I think their name's Jackie, and I can't remember their names, but every once in a while, like once a week, I'll check like, all right, did the babies flew off yet? They had three babies, but the winter storm was so bad, one of them died. But the other two survived, and I so I was walking through my neighborhood the other day, and up in Lake Arrowhead is where I live, and Big Bear is where the babies are. But I'm walking through and I look up and there's a bald eagle on the tree in our neighborhood. And I'm like, how, like, that's crazy. Like, you don't see that anymore, but it's common now. It's pretty common now because they finally come back. So, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Certainly makes it interesting when you go for your walks. Do you go bird watching specifically? Like, do you do that as a hobby as well?
I don't, and I should, but I don't. There's up there, there's not really a bird watching. There is one here when I'm staying down here. There's like by the lagoon, there's one. And it's like a 6:30 in the morning, which I get up at 4 a.m., so that's fine with me. So I should go. I know that I've seen them do it before, and everybody is over the age of 70, but I'm like, I don't care. I would love to do it. So I should definitely go do that. It's just one of those things I haven't done yet, but I should. I think I'll need some binoculars. I think they always have binoculars. So I'll have to get me a good set of binoculars and sign up for that.
Yeah, we see people do that sometimes when we take our dogs for a walk at the park, but it's really informal. So I don't
Yeah.
know if there's actually like a club or anything. And I don't really know a lot about birds. Like there's some very specific ones that I would recognize, like a cardinal or a blue jay or, chickadee. But, there's a lot that I wouldn't know the difference between. So it's kind of
Yeah.
be quite
I'm a
a
bit of a nerd like
learning.
that. I probably know quite a few. I would say anything local or in the South, I probably know about, if it was in another foreign country, I might not know as much, but any of the local birds, turkeys, vultures, all that, I can pick up a feather and tell you what bird it's from if it's local. That's
Okay, well, we've
that's
been hearing some interesting bird calls around here lately that we don't recognize. So I'm just going to record them and send them to you. And see
That
if
would be
you know
great.
what
I,
they
I would
are.
love to. I cannot tell you how many people will send me snake pictures, spider pictures, all this kind of stuff. All my friends like, what is this, Dana? And within seconds, I'm like, oh, that's a so-and-so. You're fine.
Oh, wow. Well, you're like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to this.
I love nature. I love nature. So I'm always learning some little tidbit, collecting something from nature. I've got chipmunk bones, I've got antlers, I've got rocks, I've got shells, I have feathers. I just collect all that stuff. I don't know. I love nature. I really do.
Yeah, well, that might have tipped me off to the answer to this question, but we'll see. So when Gravefords was pitched, it was pitched as a modern twist on the Count of Monte Cristo for readers of Adrian Young and Alexei Harrow. So I was wondering what came first for Gravebirds? Was it Hollis, Hawthorne, or the Gravebirds themselves?
The great birds themselves. So years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was online looking at psychic abilities because I'm fascinated by the paranormal and psychic abilities. And I was looking like, hey, looking for I was curious about my own psychic ability. Like, would I have one? Can you grow a psychic ability? And I was just researching. And I was researching for a book as well. And I came across a comment in the comments, and the guy said in the comments, what does it mean when every time you see a person, you see a bird? And I was like, wow, that's really fascinating. I just thought that was like, oh, that's bizarre. What is that? I copy and pasted that, put it in a notes document, and I just said, all right, that's a story there. I don't know what it is. And so it just sat there in that document forever. So I was looking for story ideas, and I have probably 20 or 30 story ideas with just that. It's just something like that. And I'll go in there and I'll find out which one tickles an idea. And so that one, I was like, let's see about that. And I was like, well, instead of seeing they have birds that are on graves, like you see that all the time, and they represent, people who have died or whatever, like different people, will see a certain bird and come back into their life, and it'll be a loved one re-entered in their life. And so I was like, what if instead, no, what if that represented, graves, someone who died? And what if a man walked into town and he had a grave bird on his shoulder? Like, what would that mean? And boom, that's how the story started. So, and that's where I got the idea from. And I then, as in you'll see in my book, is the first chapter, Cain walks in and he has a bird on his shoulder. And so, grave bird on his shoulder. He doesn't know it, she does, so that's how it starts.
Yeah, which was a fascinating opening because of course, you're wondering like, what does this mean and what's going on and what's the significance and how is she going to put it all together? So,
Yes.
which was a lot of fun. Definitely kept me on my toes when I was reading the book. So, there was this line um, in the book. Uh, there are three things I've learned from the dead. One, they always have something to say. Two, you can almost guarantee what they're going to say won't be pretty. And three, the dead don't like to be ignored. And when I read that, I was wondering a little like, it almost feels like we're getting the start of Hollis's investigative services series, where she's going to investigate every grave bird that she comes across and and resolve whatever the issue is. So I wondered, because like it or not, Hollis has this ability, right? She can see the grave birds and she can see messages from them. She can see events that happened in the person's life that they are connected to from before their death. And so I wondered, is there any chance that we will see Hollis back solving murders in another adventure?
I have no plans to write more books in Hollis's point of view. I mean, if my publisher was like, "Oh my gosh, the book's a great success. People want more Hollis," I would consider it. Um, I it's so funny is because I love books in a series. Like when you love a character, you want another one in the series, and it's great. I get bored writing. I wrote in the world and I love it. And now I want to write in this new world and these new characters and this new ability and this new thing. So it would have, I don't know if it would be Hollis. I would probably have to go back in time and it would be Uncle Royce, because he had that ability. So I could see myself doing like a one-off and let's go back in time and let's see how life was when he got his ability and his point of view and what that was like. So I think I could do that. Like I said, probably not Hollis. I mean, if my publisher was like, "Oh, please," then I probably would, but I don't know. I'd have to come up with something very different. I can't stay in that world. It would have to really open up a new world. I get bored. And if I'm bored, the reader's going to be bored. So I have to make sure I'm excited to write it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the interesting challenges about writing a series is trying to keep everything fresh. Like I love it when I read a good series, but it definitely is a challenge. So I can see the appeal of moving on to, but I also like the idea of a loosely connected series and going back in time to, you know, to Royce or somebody else, some even bringing in
Yeah.
somebody else who we might not be expecting at this point, or moving
Yeah.
forward to one of her nephews.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's true. That would be a good one too to see if they had it. Yeah.
You never know. I mean, well, it's so I was kind of wondering, about there's a lot of different birds that are referenced as grave birds. There's cardinals, wrens, robins. I mean, in the story. So I was wondering, what would your grave bird be?
Oh God. I think my grave bird would be the thing that I wouldn't want it to be. So what I would want it to be is I would want it to be a barn owl. I love barn owls. Like I love barn owls. That's my favorite bird. But if we go with Chinese symbol, I'm the rat, which is very honorable. It brings wisdom. I was born in the year of the rat, but I'm like, it doesn't sound as glamorous. So I'm sure I would get something like a house sparrow or, something really common. I don't know. So as much as I would want this grand, wise thing, I'd probably get like a sparrow or something, a little more common. But I don't know.
Yeah. So nobody's
That
asked
would be
you
my
yet.
answer. What'd you say?
Nobody's asked you that. Asked you that yet, then.
No, no, no one's asked me that.
You
No, not yet. I probably should have had an answer prepped.
yeah,
I should have known that was going to be asked.
yeah, people are probably going to be wondering about that. So, because I did find myself wondering, I wonder what my grave bird would be, and I don't know,
Yeah.
no idea. So, I was, drawing a complete blank on that when I was thinking about it. So, and then I started wondering, like, oh, I wonder if there's any like specific, personality quirks or connections, but I don't know enough about birds you know, to go down that path.
Well,
So,
as much as I wish I was wise and as quiet and as stoic as a barn owl, I think I would be a sparrow because they're flitty and flighty and they're all over the place and chattery. So I'm like either that or like a chickadee.
I like chickadees. They're cute. So,
Oh, they're so adorable. So adorable.
yeah. So now it's interesting, when you write characters, particularly when you're fully immersed in one character's point of view. Uh, Often writers give a little piece of themselves to their characters. And it seems like maybe one of the things that you gave to Hollis was your interest in interior design. She's not an interior designer, but there's some overlap with her party planning skills and her knack for creating atmosphere with different, decor and whatnot. Was that a deliberate plan to
Yes.
do that?
Yes. Yeah, I used to plan huge events for my son's school fundraisers, like big casino nights and big fundraisers. And so it came naturally to me for, for her to like, okay, plan this big event, And so I was just like, okay, this is where I'm going with it. And that's where I got the Count of Monte Cristo kind of aspect at the end of Count of Monte Cristo is the big party, the big, like that's where he gets his revenge. And that's what I was going for in this, except for not so much. That was just like a hint of it, I guess you would say. But yeah, I love party planning. I love interior design. I love all that. I mean, I used to just have like little parties for like writer friends that I would be like, and I would make little gift bags and I would make custom little foods. So I love that. So yeah, that's a huge part of my personality. Even now, I'll do little things like that. Like I just love making little things. I made so the sugar boom cupcake in my book. I was like, okay, I've never made a sugar boo, but I love the idea of it. So I made sugar boo cupcakes here at the house. I was like, this is perfect. But I don't do really good at icing. I forgot that you're supposed to refrigerate it first before you squeeze it on there. So I had to practice again. But I'm like, all right, I want to do the sugar boos. I think they're so cute. So I want to make them and, post them on the internet or whatever. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow, so you do it all then. You do the baking, you do the planning, you do the decor?
Everything. I love cooking. I love cooking. I'm a baker. I cook. It's my love language. So I have two boys. And so I'm always cooking for them. I'm like, what do you want mama to make you? I'll make it. What do you want me to cook you? And I'm always like, are you hungry? Can I cook you something? Like that is just my love language.
So that's a part of you that Hollis did not get.
Yeah, she didn't get which is so funny, is because I was like, all right, I can't give her everything, so she doesn't know how to cook. And to her grandmother's dismay, now my grandmother was a big cook, and so her granny was essentially my big mama. I mean, I had a big mama, and she was always cooking and always that place you could just lean in on and love. And so, yeah, yeah. So she got my grandmother, so there's that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the things that was really nice about this story because um so often we don't really get support networks in stories. We have an isolated protagonist for various reasons, and sometimes it serves the story. But it's really nice that Hollis has a supportive family around her and supportive friends. Was that something that you
Yeah.
deliberately wanted to include because it is set in the South, or was it just something that you felt like you could give her within the framework of this story?
I think it's a huge part of living in the South. I mean, there's a lot of people that will just take their shirt off the back, their backs and give it to you if you need it. Like it's a very generous type of, you know, community. I think it's just a Southern thing to just have that support. And you don't always have that support system. Hollis's mother isn't a big support system in her life, and I think that kind of reflects in my own life. My mom wasn't a big, like a really big support system for me, but I had friends. I had like my best friend in high school. Her mom was like a big support system for me. So it's like I think it's there, and I think you have. That's another part of friendships. Like sometimes friends fill in where family couldn't. So, I think so that to me it's just natural. It's just a natural part of my world. And I know it's not everybody didn't have that growing up, and I had it at moments and then I didn't have it, but I think it is a big part of the South in my opinions, my experience and from my friends and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it felt very realistic though, because there were some people who, like you mentioned, her mom isn't a great support, but
Yeah.
she did have herself surrounded by good people, which was
Yeah.
which was a really nice a nice thing. So I was curious though, like how did you get into interior design? Did you study interior design when you went to college, or? Was it just
No, I didn't. I went to school to be a elementary school teacher, and then I got 4 years of college and got to my student teaching where I was teaching children, and I was working as a preschool teacher on the side, and I realized I hated children. So I was like, I'm probably not fit to be a school teacher. So I changed it to a psychology major, ended up never finishing my degree, went into accounting because it was the job opportunity that was open. So I started doing accounting, and then just over time, I've always been creative. I made little sculptures for my dad. My dad to this day has all these little clay sculptures that I made him. I was always painting, I was always drawing, I was always writing poetry. Like I have this creativity in me. And I feel like I have a really good artistic eye, even though I can't draw. Drawing and painting, I am terrible at, but everything else, I'm really good at. And so I just feel like I have a very good artistic eye. I love making my surroundings like beautiful. I love coming home to cool, calm colors. Like everything organized, everything in its place. I think it was just a natural thing for me. So, it started with me decorating my own house, and then friends would be like, "Oh, will you help me out?" And I got to helping my friends out, and then they wanted me to pay, they like, "How can I pay you for that?" And so next thing you know, I start getting clients. I start getting, start expanding that. And I haven't done any since I sold my last book. I've been so busy. I haven't been able to take on any clients. So, and I don't know at this point, I would take on a friend, but I never make them pay me, like they always end up buying me something as a thank you gift or whatever. So, but yeah, I just love doing it. My favorite thing is to people to repurpose everything in your house. I can redecorate your house and with the things you already have. Like a lot of people just have it in the wrong spot. They don't have it decorated right. Like pull these three things from this room, put these things in there, and that's my passion. I love helping people like repurpose their own stuff.
oh,
I believe in shopping in your own house. I really do.
it's true though. Sometimes you just move something and it opens everything up in a way
Yes.
that you didn't expect, right? You,
Yes.
when you change the flow in a room, like it
Yes.
can have such a huge impact on the space and light. I mean, I don't know a lot about interior. I'm more fascinated by architecture. I love to look at layouts and floor
Yeah.
plans and see like why they chose to put this here or there. But I did find it was really interesting, because when you wrote those descriptions about her proposal when Hollis is trying to, you know, now the big event, right? And be hired to plan it. It you it was the references to light and there was it was just it sort of captured the imagination in terms of like her thinking and her way of like using the decor to like convey ideas. I don't know how to,
Yes.
it was just really,
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to go with the celestial theme that would embody what she wanted the atmosphere to be like, with the dark linens and the gold and the way the lights made stars. She was trying to make the cosmos. She was trying to make what it looked like when she died. That's what she was trying to recapture in that, in the gala. So that's what, she had.
yeah, it's fascinating. I'm envious of people who have that talent and who can draw.
Yeah.
It is
I
amazing.
That's the one thing I wish I could do. I cannot draw to save my life. That's, yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, I suppose we can't have all of the creative talents, you know.
That's true. Very true. I can't sing either, so there's that.
Yeah, I hear you on that front. So fortunately, nobody's going to ask me to sing, so we won't have to worry about that, right?
Same, same.
So, one of the things that I really liked about this story is that it has a lot of cross-genre elements to it. I mean, it's contemporary, but it's got these paranormal aspects, these elements with the grave birds and with what Hollis is able to see, and it's got these amateur sleuth investigative elements from crime fiction that are all interwoven. And, there's also like a little bit of romance in there too. So you've got like a little smattering of everything. And I noticed that on your website that you said that, when you talked about movies and shows that you like, you mentioned like science fiction, fantasy, horror, thrillers. And when In the Hour of Crows came out, Reactor called it a fantasy murder mystery. And I think that that's, perhaps like a comparable, like, way of summing up the genre for Gravebirds as well. So what for you is the appeal of writing cross genre? Because you seem to naturally find your way into it.
Yeah, I didn't realize I did that until the Harper Collins sales rep, he was taking me around and introducing me to, with my last book, introducing me to some local indie bookstores. And he's like, there's a little bit of everything in this book. And I was like, oh, that is oh, I don't know. I just find I don't think I could do straight fantasy. I don't think I could do a straight thriller or a straight crime novel, or like I don't think I could do that, but I could do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like I like all those elements, thrown in there. I don't know if I could write a straight romance, but I do want a little romance in there, like I like that. So it's just a little bit. I just enjoy pulling those little pieces together. And I feel like, isn't that what our real lives are like? Like there's a little bit of romance in our life, and then there's this little creepy thing that happens at night when the house creaks, or, whatever, the light flickers in a weird way. And so I feel like it's just a part of our natural environment almost. That's how it is for me. Maybe I'm, maybe I'm bringing in the ghost.
Well, no, I think it's also like you said, like you like to move on to new characters, new settings, new stories, right? There's something about writing cross genre that I think it keeps you out of feeling like you're in a box because you can move in all those different directions. And that has the benefit of keeping the reader on their toes because, you know, you never know when, you think you're about to head down the hall to a bedroom and have a romantic moment. And instead you're sneaking into an office and seeing.
And running into a ghost.
Yeah, exactly. So you never
Yeah.
really know how those moments are going to turn, so
Yeah.
which is kind of fun. So, I mean, as a reader, I enjoy that because you never really, when you pick up a book that's really set in a clear genre, then you have clear expectations, right?
I
So,
think that's the other thing too, is like I know there's rules in a romance. I don't know what those rules are, but there are rules in a romance. If you're going to write a romance and straight romance, there's certain things like you have to do. And most readers want their happy ending when you read a romance, and so I feel like I don't want to be bogged down by rules. Like I want a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So then you can't pin me on it like, well, she did that wrong. It's like, well, I'm doing a little bit of everything. So,
yeah,
and I think it's also because I get bored easily.
yeah, well, and I think it's one of those things like, you know, certain some genres really do have very clear conventions, and so it can. I think it won't feel fresh and exciting if you feel trapped and pressured like by those. So then you want to step outside the genre. Like I used to write police procedurals. I don't anymore at all. And one of the things that I find the most fun is when I pick up a book that does have investigative elements, but it completely sidesteps the conventions of a typical investigation. So a book
Yeah.
like Birds is a lot of fun for me to read because, I'm like trying to like go like how to piece this together, but of course it's nothing like an investigation.
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
little hints of like, oh, we're picking up information here, we're picking up information there, but it's not at all a formal thing. And so, um, so it was really interesting as and of course my brain, I'm like trying to piece together, okay, this person, they did this and they're talking to this, like I'm looking for all of those like typical things that I'm used to in the genre, but the way that it comes out is so refreshing. So, to me, that's part of the adventure of reading, though, is like, you're going inside this whole different world, and so you get the story in a whole different way. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed doing that. Like I enjoyed like unfolding it. And it's probably a challenge for me to unfold those puzzle pieces, but do it in a way that you're not just telling the reader, like you're unfolding it. And hopefully, though, if you do it correctly, the reader goes, oh, yes, I forgot about that. Like, and then they realize where they got steered wrong, because, you always have that red herring in a story where you're leading them over here, you make them think it's over here, and then it's been over here the whole time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't want to give anything away, so I won't say too much more about that. But yeah, there were definitely, and even as Hollis is trying to put things together, like I'm looking at it and going like, well, this all makes sense, but no, there's something I'm missing. So, you know, so like I kept going up and searching like different things and looking back at different references and trying to piece it together too. And so it was a lot of fun for me. So I hope that readers really enjoy that aspect because I think that people who do like reading multiple genres and enjoy investigative elements are going to find that Gravebirds is a great fit for their reading enjoyment. So I hope they discover it and enjoy it. Um, Now, I did want to ask you about something that you said in an interview with Carrie Maher. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly. For Authors Over 40,
Oh, yeah.
interview with there, you said that you've never written a novel the same way twice.
Yes.
Oh. I wondered, what do you do to get yourself unstuck when a manuscript is misbehaving?
Oh God, that's the worst. Yeah, so if I'm stuck, it's because I don't know what's happening, or even bigger, and the biggest thing for me is I don't know what my character wants. So for my last book, In the Hour of Crows, I had to rewrite it 3 times from scratch. I kept like 20, 25% each time, but pretty much from scratch because I couldn't figure out what the main character wanted. What she wanted was like, okay, is that what she wants? And then by the third time I wrote it, I was like, I'm gonna kill the cousin. And I told a friend that, and they're like, you can't kill her. I love that character. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna gotta kill her, and she's got to solve the mystery of how her cousin died. And once I knew that, boom, I hit the ground running. Like it was steered from that right there every time. So when other writers out there, if you're stuck, you don't know what your character wants. Because if your character wants something, she wants justice. And that's what she wants. Is she wanted justice. And that was the driving force to every decision she made in that book. So it's the same thing here. Hollis, she wanted her career. She wants to take this on in her career, and these grave birds keep bugging her. And then, then it starts infecting her life, and then with this guy and with everything going on. So it's like, okay, I got to figure this out. Plus, she feels like she needs to honor what they need from her. I mean, she has this gift. She feels like she needs to honor it and help them out. I mean, like her Uncle Roy said, you can't save them all. You can't save all the ghosts, but when they step into your life, you'll know when you need to do something. So I feel like that, that's how so whenever I didn't know what she was doing, I was like, all right, what does she want? What does she want? And sometimes it's what does she want overall? It's like, well, what does she want in the scene? So that's, and then when I really don't know what that is, I take open a piece of document, and because I can't talk aloud to somebody, there's no one here to talk it out with, and I'll start writing on a document. What does she want? Why does she want that? Well, that's dumb. Like I'll literally write that. Well, that's dumb. She doesn't want that. Well, she doesn't want that because blah, blah, blah. And that's how I write it out. And then I'm like, well, why can't she want that? And I'll just write it out. It would be great if I had a friend, hey, real quick, let me talk this out with you, but I don't. So I write it on a piece of paper and have a conversation with myself. And I write everything I'm thinking down and I'll come up with what the problem is. And sometimes it means I have to go back a step. Like, oh, she needs to know this one thing before she can go there. That's what that needs to be. So you just kind of have to tinker around. That's why it's never the same book twice. Like I never write a book the same way twice. It's always something that I'm like, oh, I should probably plot now. I'm a pantser. I never plot. I plot when I'm done writing the book. And so like when I'm done writing the book, then I'll plot my book because then I need to know how to fix it. Then I can see the plot holes, you know. I kind of know before I plot it, but I'll plot it. And I always plot it because I think, oh, the next book I can plot. No, that's not happening. That's not happening. So that's the only thing that's consistent when you write every book. And I always write myself like this book has a big twist at the end. And I remember sharing with my friend, I'm like, all right, here's the twist, you know? And they're like, I don't know how you're going to pull that off. And I'm like, I don't either, but I'm going to try, you know? And I just thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I feel like I did a good job. I feel like I did a good job. So we'll see. We'll see when the reviews come in. Reviews I won't read, but yeah, we'll see. I'll let somebody else read them. I have a friend, she goes, hey, I saw a review. You may tell it to you. I'm like, only if it tells me how much they love me, because I cannot take a criticism. I'm like, oh no, they hate me. No.
Yeah, no, it's hard because they're just people's opinions. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And I'm subjective when I read books. People will love a book and it's so popular. I'm like, I don't get it. And then I will love a book and I'll see people in the 1-star reviews. I'm like, I love that book. What are you talking about? You know, so I get it. I totally get it. It's subjective. It's really subjective. And I might like a book now, and 3 years from now, I might like, I don't want that book, you know? So
Yeah, I think that there are certain books for certain times in our lives, that's, I mean, and that's one of the things like too, like because you've written YA and you've written adult, like I wondered how switching um was for you and what it was that motivated you to move into adult as opposed to YA.
well, I think for me, I kept writing YA, and I feel like I just couldn't get where I wanted to with the story. I felt, limita while there's limitations in YA, there's lots you can do in YA, but I just felt I wanted to do things that in a story that it required more experience, life experience than just high school. You know, I wanted there to be college experience, divorces or whatever. There's life experience that you learn in each stage. And I think the stories I wanted to tell needed to be told in those older perspectives. So for me, it was like, okay, I think I need to tell older perspectives. I want to try something different. I wasn't even sure if I could do it because I feel like I really embraced YA so much. I had so many books I've written in YA that I shelved that I was like, no, that's not it. That's not it. That when I wrote the book before In the Hour of Crows, I wrote a book that I loved and my previous agent wasn't able to sell. And I think I felt limitations. Like I wanted that to be an adult and it didn't work as a young adult. And I would love to rewrite it someday. So I was like, I felt stuck. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to write an adult book. And it just came out like, yeah, these are the emotions I wanted to feel. This is what I want to do. I wanted just to have a more life experience type personality. So I think that was the big pull for me of what I wanted to express. And it's probably what I was going through and wanted to know on my own. I mean, like I'm older, so I wanted to, I feel like I've worked out a lot of those teenage emotions and experiences in those books. And now I was like, okay, what is that next step? Where do you go after that? And I think I wanted to experience that myself in my writing. Because I think when you can go through, all right, what was I going through at that time and that age? And I think if you can put your own feelings and emotions in it, you make it more believable, for the reader.
Yeah, you're speaking more to where they're at. Like, I mean, you have, you know, in Grave Birds, you have a very interesting kind of, subtext about, grief and guilt because Hollis is carrying both of those. weights on her
Yes.
shoulders. And
Yes.
so even though even though there's a lot of like I think of her as being quite optimistic, really, considering things that she's been through in her life.
That's
But
true.
like I think that but she still does have these things that she's dealing with, and so you're writing a story that obviously it's got a lot of thriller elements. It's got rising tension, it's got things happening that are unexplained, it's got mysteries. It's got all of these things in it, and that are going and picking up the pace as you're moving towards the end. And um but at the same time there are these moments where like where she doesn't want to go to um she doesn't want to meet up with her family on the anniversary of her grandfather's death and things like that.
Mhm.
She still hasn't really, she's still processing on a certain level, throughout the story. And so, when you're doing this as a, from an adult lens, you can touch on that in a different way, particularly when somebody has a traumatic event that happens as a child and then, and they've carried this into adulthood and not resolved it. It's something that a lot of people relate to, and I think it's meaningful for readers, when they sense, that message coming through and they can relate to the character in that way. So, that's I mean, I am a person who almost drowned. So
Oh, wow.
I fell down a waterfall when I was 10. So I got I was very lucky that a group of people on shore formed a lifeline and
Oh,
managed to pull me out. So
oh, wow.
yeah, so I really thought I was going to die. And so reading water related deaths are not, that's not my favorite.
No, no.
My
I'm
favorite thing.
sorry.
Well, that's okay. I mean, like because like in the context of the story, like I could really relate to her in terms of like that trauma, you know,
Hmm.
of and how frightening that would be. But then on top of that, the way that she carried all the guilt for all those years, it's because
Yeah.
nobody beats themselves up quite like you do yourself, right? Like,
Yes.
you know,
We're our own worst enemy. Yeah.
yeah, and she really can't, and it's interesting how other people around her can all have forgiven, and yet she can't forgive herself. So it's something that she needs to work through and process, and so it's a really interesting element to the character and to the story. So that I really enjoyed. So we've been chatting quite a while. I should really, try to wrap this up, but I do have a couple of oddball questions for you.
Okay. Go
You
for it.
en- so you enjoy putting puzzles together, and I
Mhm.
was wondering, do you do 2D and 3D or just 2D?
I just do 2D. I'm not my kids gave me a 3D one time and it was fun. I love the 2D, but I figured it out so quickly, the 2D that's on both sides. But as soon as you figure out the pattern of how it works on both sides, it's easy for me to like once I see a pattern, then I can only see pattern. And then now I start doing the puzzle pretty quickly, whether it's two-side or whatever. But I always it has to be a minimum 1,000 piece. Like otherwise, it's just I could do it in my sleep. But I think that's also like why I love writing all the different genres. How do I put all those puzzle pieces together and make it work? So putting a puzzle together is fun. So I do those. And then my kid gave me the hardest puzzle in the world kind of puzzle. And I did it within an hour. So I was like, yeah, it wasn't that hard.
Apparently not. Within an hour. Wow. No.
Yeah, all the puzzle pieces were the same piece. Yeah, and you had to get, and you only had a couple of side pieces, and even the side pieces didn't work. It was a challenge, but I was like, I can do it. I can do it. So yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the main motivation for you is because you find it fun, or do you find it mentally challenging or mentally relaxing?
Um, I find it mentally challenging and it's relaxing. So I like doing that, like that same old, like that repetitiveness. It's comforting to me to have that repetitiveness, So it works like, and it's like, and I like that challenge in my brain, just being able to figure it out.
That's fun.
Especially when the pieces start clicking. You're like, yeah, 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 you know.
Yeah, it's great when it's coming together. So, yeah. So I was also wondering about one final thing. So
Okay.
in the book, you've got, some phrases that are in there like if you're happy and you know it, it's your meds. And home is where you take your bra off. And and I was kind of thinking like, I mean, I don't know if I'm correct, but like these sound like kind of like Southernisms, like, and like the kind of expressions that you would, it didn't surprise me, I guess, within the context of the book to see some expressions like that. But I found myself wondering, are you going to take any of your Southernisms and, like put them on t-shirts and make some Etsy merch? Like, I mean, now that I know about all of your multiple business interests and whatnot and your creative outlets, I'm thinking you probably don't have time for it. But I was thinking it would be great if you did.
I should, but I didn't. The home is where you take your bra off is a cross stitch that I did for my mom because she always would be like, as soon as she'd get home, she'd be like, and she would kill me for telling people this, but she'd take her bra off like, oh, gotta get that thing off. So I thought that would be perfect for my mom, so I did that cross stitch for her, and then I've seen the med ones somewhere else. I don't know, but yeah. Uh, us Southerners, we have a way of saying things for sure. But do I plan on doing merch of it? No, I didn't think of that, but that's really lucrative. Maybe I should.
Oh, I could totally see the appeal. I mean, I could, I could see the appeal of some t-shirts there. So I thought it would be fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed those elements. It's great flavor, for the story, for the
Oh,
setting. Uh,
yeah.
I mean, as somebody who's lived in, you grew up in the South, but you now live in California, like, does that give you a greater appreciation for the cultural elements of the South?
Yes, yes, because there's a lot that I miss. There's so much I miss. I don't miss the small town, everybody knows your business. I don't miss that. But I do miss, that there's so many small things like I ingrained in my boys, like they have to open the door for girls. They have to say yes, ma'am, no, sir, that kind of thing. Like I just think those chivalrous things are really cool, and I appreciated and loved them growing up. Respect your elders. There's all these kind of things. So for me, there's so much of it that I just embrace and I miss and I love and I truly appreciate. Like there's just certain things that I love like that. So it works for me. And I don't know, I love that. And even though there's a saying that you can take the girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl. And that's so true, even with me. Like, even though I don't live there anymore and I've lived here for California for probably longer than Tennessee, I'm just born and raised with yes, ma'am in my DNA. I don't think I can take that out.
Yeah. No, why would you want to? I mean, you know, it's
Yeah.
I mean, they're great customs, and in this, the way the world is today, it is it's lovely when people are polite and friendly, and so
We
yeah,
could use a little more. Bless your heart.
we could, although that has a little alternate meaning, right?
It could be used quite a few ways.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, because my husband grew up in Maryland, so that's just right on that line, right? So, I,
Yeah.
so I've gotten an education, a little
Yeah.
bit of one, but so I was finding myself thinking like, do you think that you'll always set your works in the South?
Yes. Yes. I can't see writing anything that's outside the South. I know it. I love it. I love sharing all those quirky little things with other people. I get a kick out of people going, "Oh my God, do people really do this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we sure do." Or do people really say this? I'm like, "Oh yeah, we really say it." Like I remember a neighbor of mine, I ate something of hers. It was really good. And I was like, that was so good. Make you want to slap your mama. And she's like, what? Like, what did you say? And I'm like, it's a saying in the South that your mom should be the best cook ever. So if somebody else doesn't cook it right, you want to slap your mama and go, hey, how about you cook it like that? Like, it's just a silly saying. I don't know why, but people say it. So it's just one of those things that I love sharing that. Love sharing that culture. I love showing the heart and the generosity. I mean, the just all aspects of it. And it's in my DNA. I love it. I miss it. So it's a way to relive it, and to keep it alive. So that, yeah, always the South for me.
Well, that's fantastic. Obviously you do love it, and you have some fun in there too in the book, with references to some of the dishes that Kane is hoping won't be served when he, when they go out for dinner, right? So it's just fun to have those references in there. They add so much flavor to the setting in the story. So I really enjoyed it, and I really hope that the launch goes well. Gravebirds is out July 1st.
Yep.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking. And I really hope that everything goes well with the launch of the new book and that people, the right readers find it and discover it and enjoy it.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved chatting with you. It's been awesome.